Hi everyone, and welcome to our second video about thesis statements. Once you've broken down your question and done a bit of research and started to think about your answer to the question, it's time to start thinking about what's your thesis statement. So your thesis statement is your main answer to the question, and it gives a brief summary of your reasons for your answer. So your thesis statement is useful to think about early on in the process before you start writing, because it helps to capture what are you arguing and why. Let's have a look at a few examples of thesis statements. Here's a very typical kind of unclear thesis statement. So taking the question that we had before, which was how did ideology play a part in the maintenance and legacy of the Neo-Assyrian Empire? We've got this thesis statement which says ideology was prominent in the Neo-Assyrian Empire and consisted of both official and local sources of propaganda. Now this one is really descriptive, because it tells me that ideology was prominent and that there was both official and unofficial sources of propaganda, but that doesn't actually tell me the answer. It doesn't tell me how did it play a part in the maintenance of the empire, how did it help the legacy of the empire. So it doesn't actually tell me what side of the debate they side with. So they don't actually tell me whether they think it did play a part or not. So let's take a look at another example. Now, here's another unclear one. Ideology played an important part in the maintenance and legacy of the Neo-Assyrian Empire. So, okay, yep, that's off to a good start. So it played an important part, but this doesn't actually answer to the question. It doesn't tell me how did it play a part. It does take a side of the debate. It does tell me that it did play a part, but it doesn't give me the details. So it doesn't give me those reasons. So what you need to do is have a think about giving the reasons in your thesis statement also. So let's take a look. Here's what I'm proposing is a slightly better example. Official ideology emphasized the king's primacy, which helped to maintain the empire's stability. Fantastic. Okay, so that's ideology type number one. So how did it play a part? Okay, so official ideology played a part by maintaining the empire's stability. So this ideology about the king is the most important person in the country. They have the most power. They are the prime ruler. That contributed to the empire's stability. Okay. Then we've got the second part of the thesis statement, and also reinforced ideas about international relations which maintained clear national boundaries. So again, we've got an example of the type of ideology, reinforced ideas about international relations, and how that maintained the legacy, how that maintained the ideology, So maintained clear national boundaries. All right, so we're already off to a good start. We're getting answers to the questions about how did ideology play a part in the maintenance of the empire. Now, this third part to the statement says this ideology also contributed to a lasting legacy of royalty and power wrested through warfare, which influenced later empires in the region. So we've got that answer to the legacy part of the question too. So that's great. That's very nice and clear, because it tells me that they argue that ideology did play a strong part in the maintenance and the legacy, and they tell me how. By emphasizing the primacy of the king, which helped to maintain stability, by emphasizing national boundaries, which helped to maintain those boundaries and maintain that stability, and that legacy of the ideology continued on afterwards. So it directly answers the question, which is good. You might be thinking, hang on a sec, this is a little bit one-sided. It's a little bit plain. It tells me, yes, ideology did play a part. Yes, it did play a part in the maintenance and the legacy. What about the other side of the issue? What about, well, were there any other points of view or any other perspectives? So let's have a look at one where it actually considers the different sides of the debate. So here's one where we've got two kind of different views expressed in the thesis statement, but even though it takes into account both perspectives, it still clearly answers the question. Now, this is something that takes a lot of effort to do nice and concisely. As you can see, this is a really long example, so if you want to try it more concisely than this, all power to you. So we've got the first statement. At the empire's height, official ideology emphasized the king's primacy and military strength. Okay, fantastic. So we have this type of ideology, official type. And this ideology helped to maintain the empire's stability and reinforce clear national boundaries. So the same argument as we saw in the previous example. Now here's what's different. However, over time, competing ideologies led to civil war and a decentralization of state power, which contributed to the empire's fall. Okay, so we've got the other side of the issue, that while at the empire's height, the official ideology worked in this particular way, as it came to the later times, competing ideologies actually played a part in the downfall of the empire. So we've got overall that answer that ideology did play a part in the empire. It played a part early on and during the height in maintaining the empire, but competing ideologies played a part in the downfall of the empire. And then we've got, nevertheless, ideologies of the importance of war for the Neo-Assyrian royal power continued to influence later empires in the region. So we've got that answer to the legacy of the empire. So this is one where it shows that the author is dealing with both sides of the issue, different perspectives, and that they're still answering the question, how did it play a part? It played a part, first of all, in maintaining the empire for a certain number of years, but it also played a part in leading to the downfall. Despite that, it still contributed to a legacy. All right, so it both acknowledges the debate and shows the argument. So remember, when you're looking at your thesis statement, go back to, what is my main answer to the question? If the question is, how did this factor play a part in your particular case study? Make sure that you answer that question. How did it? So what kind of factors played a part, and how did they play a part? So not only give your answer, but give your reasons. Make that really, really nice and clear in your introduction. So in our following video, we're going to be looking at planning out your essay and structuring a really effective essay.